Welcome, welcome, welcome to Two Brothers and an Idea. I am. They call me Ferdinand, the bringer of balance, leader of many disciplines, and one of your hosts of Two Brothers and an Idea. So we're doing a little pivot today. Obviously, we're usually talking high science on multiple different topics, multiple different disciplines, multiple different ideas on that, right? But we got a special treat for you today, right? So we're in episode 30, and we're going to be focusing on art from our melanated artists. And I got a new host, right? Let's bring this brother to the stage, an amazing artist, Nayland Smart.
Peace, peace, peace. Appreciate the intro. Appreciate the intro, man. How's everything going, brother?
Oh, doing fantastic, my brother. Doing fantastic. How about yourself?
Man, no complaints whatsoever. Just taking in the new energy, ready to share, ready to embrace the new challenges as well as the triumphs.
Facts, absolutely.
Yes,
So,
sir.
when we look at when we talk about art coming from melanated artists, who are some of your inspirations in that space?
Appreciate that. Yeah, man. Definitely, it definitely, even though photography is my medium of projection through artistry, my inspiration wasn't just photography or visual artists. Definitely, of course, it was Gordon Parks, who was a great storyteller as well through his artistry and his craft. But also, it was people like Michael Jackson. Just his level of projection as an artist and his ability to translate what he's been doing and what his vision is through his music is something that I really, really resonated with over time, as well as, straight up just the revolutionary aspects of our great leaders like Malcolm X was a major inspiration for me because he wasn't afraid to speak to his community and to the world, but it wasn't unfiltered. It was genuinely how he felt, in a lot of his older works and depictions of how we see him today. So when I just look at black art, I also look at Alvin Ailey as well. Got to add that in. Also, Alvin Ailey, just that presence of a black dance, um, energy, not just energy, but the system that he created, the opportunities he created for everyone over time. It's still thriving. It's still going without him. That was something with my background being dance from kind of me there. Yeah. Oh, shoot, I can't hear you. Hold on.
I really appreciate all those references.
Yes,
All
sir.
the artists you called out. A couple of them really stuck out. Like so for me, Gordon Parks, he stands out. I got a long background in photography and video. Um,
Hmm.
but I think it's really important that we show off their work, that we talk about their work, that we get an understanding of their life, the things that they went through, because that really influences an artist's creation.
I
The
agree.
things that they go through in their life. So when we think about Gordon Parks, there's a lot of conflict that this brother was dealing with. He
Hmm.
on some high level individuals, and he was in a rare position for a brother at that time. But help me with a couple of the other artists that you gave out. Tell us a little bit more about their life.
So definitely someone I referenced earlier was Alvin Ailey. Alvin Ailey was pivotal in the, I guess you could say, representation of black dance into the more mainstream aspects of entertainment through society. So, well, not just mainstream, but also on the higher exclusive end. So, kind of like the opera houses, when it comes to performances that are, ticketed events that or even being able to dance for dignitaries or perform in certain spaces that are commemorative to certain things, you know, being able to access those type of opportunities. Yeah, is they do look for talent, but there also has to be a track record of professionalism as well as high end performance capability. And Alvin Ailey has always been there, not just in mass to provide choreography for a lot of these type of things, but also cultivated and helped a lot of Black dancers thrive, whether it's through personal opportunities or individual opportunities in dance. So you can kind of trace dancers from Alvin Ailey that have danced with people like, choreographers from Michael Jackson and Janet Jackson, and people back in the day that really had that type of presence when it came to Black entertainment. Alvin Ailey was one of the forefathers. Thank you for bringing that up. He was the main, like, if you look at the way the bodies are depicted and the presentation of melanin, a lot of his imagery that's archived, it was unapologetically Black. You know what I'm saying? Like, you just had to embrace the Black ballerina. You had to embrace the Black male dancer holding a woman up, that wasn't really being shown a lot in a lot of mainstream places. So for me, as a young man growing up, you saw the Rockettes, you saw different things that were presented in entertainment, especially when it came to dance, but wasn't everything Black dance was always presented in a tribal way, right? Like, kind of like the presentation of like tribal attire. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but to show dancers in more of the contemporary light that are Black faces, I felt like that was so powerful for musicals, for just people being able to see grace and power all in one. That's what I think dance represents, grace and power, like a visual representation of that. And then also the connectivity of when you have partners, you're seeing a Black male and a Black woman in tandem creating art. And that's something Alvin Ailey always showed. Like, he had the females doing their thing, you had the guys doing their thing. You always saw males and females doing their thing, whether it was their interpretation of something that happened in the past or a recreation in the dance way or some type of interpretation. Yeah, man, Alvin Ailey, to me, when it comes to Black pioneers, when we talk about entertainment, I don't think Alvin Ailey gets a lot of the mainstream attention that a lot of other entertainers have gotten over time for their solo contributions, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. When I think about Alvin Ailey with his dance, with his choreography side of his career, it kind of makes me think about movies, right? So Melvin Van Peebles, his father,
Right.
or it is
Mario Van Peebles and his father's Melvin. Facts. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah. So Melvin Van Peebles and what the work that he put in, and there's others, right? But it really makes me think about those different artists, like you're saying, who they did some amazing things. They don't get as much credit as they should for the foundational work that they have put in, like a Louis Armstrong, for example. We talk a lot about Jamie Foxx and how talented this brother is. And make no mistake about it, this brother is super, super talented. He's one of the most talented that I've ever seen in the history of entertainment. But then we got Louis Armstrong, right? And they're kind of like, it's almost like a 1A, 1B kind of thing between them. But, these guys, they're not talked about as much anymore. And these are the kind of conversations we need to bring these names up. So the Alvin Aileys, shout out to everyone who's working with the brother, working with his team that's still in existence today. And shout out to everyone who's learning about Gordon Parks.
Yeah, right.
And then when I think about some other artists, like for me, I'm consistently thinking about probably what most people think about when they think about a melanated artist, Basquiat, right? maybe they're thinking about Jay-Z, Rihanna,
Right. Right.
But there's so Beyonce, exactly. There's so many different types of art that's out there. There's the sculptures, there's the paintings. You got media like what we're doing. You got the content creators. It's vast. Even though it's kind of like a small thing amongst all the other industry within the world, it's vast within its polarity or within its degree of vibration.
I agree. And one thing you brought up was I think part of that the not even the reasoning, but the why we're here, right? To where we're seeing the way individualized artists are showcased as opposed to people that, like, let's say a Debbie Allen. You know what I mean? Debbie Allen is kind of like a Alvin Ailey in more contemporary light. You know, she
Right.
did Fame. She was the one that literally got all those people together to do that TV series that was popping in like the late 80s, right? And that was based on LaGuardia High School in New York, you know, that actual people like Nicki Minaj went to and actually learned to do art on a lot of different levels, but then they catapulted to something else. And the connectivity of all these things is like us as Black creatives not truly understanding the systems that of kind of like the ebb and flow or the way things go in these industries that we're partaking in, because we're not the ones that set the rules, right? We're the creators, we're the ones that actually are pushing out everything, but we're not the ones setting up the spaces where people can view things. We're not the ones creating the tangible discs that people can take home. You know, like even just these images that are being created, this is housed somewhere for people to access, but people still need to know about it to access it. So when we have something like a Black History Month, right? It's kind of like the gift and the curse, where we have all this information that's shared to us or exposed during this month, but then way past that, it's like we forget about everything else that we've been doing because it's so much history that you can't fit it all into quote unquote a 1 month, you know, space of 28 days of, hey y'all should learn about this, because all the information that has been broken down of what people have been doing is stuff that we haven't been in control of for so long. So when we learn about people like the Debbie Allens, it takes Debbie Allen doing the work now with younger people, laying those footprints and working with certain people that can keep her legacy going if she goes on. You know, like Debbie Allen, for instance, I know this for a fact. In the studio, she has Debbie Allen Studios, I believe it's in LA, and she's been allowing a lot of people to use the studio, obviously do classes and whatnot. But I don't know the ins and outs of how her business dealings are, but I know that a lot of non-traditional dancers have access to be able to, when I say non-traditional, meaning people that went to school or took the discipline and trained, they, if they have some type of experience, can still access that studio and become an instructor and still teach classes, right? And it's not just limited to just one demographic of people. You know, there's white kids, Asian kids. You know, what people don't even realize with the dance community, especially when it comes to the, you know, high performance level of dance, oh my gosh, you got that joint reaching a whole bunch of non-Black people. You have Asians, especially Filipinos, especially in LA, the Hispanic people out there. You know, Hispanic people were part of the hip hop aspect in the 80s too, in the Bronx. So, you know, then Korea doing break dancing contests with Korea and Japan and China and all these people competing. So our reach is something that I think we have to start approaching now and studying Black history. And what I mean by that is, yeah, things have happened in the past that influence us, but I think we need to start doing like almost like real-time case studies of why are they celebrating Black culture in Japan? Like, how did it get to that point where they're literally doing hip hop element days or celebrating hip hop, to the point where I knew about that they were doing dance hall, like Caribbean reggae dance hall energy. They were celebrating that in Japan as well, like having like a day or a week where they celebrate that. And then I'm talking about there was footage of like the reggae clubs when people getting hype in Japan, and it's like Japanese chicks dressed like us with the cornrows, with the flag on, doing the Jamaican dances. This is like 2003, you know what I'm saying? The height of when dancehall was popping. But when I saw all of that, I'm like, okay, we're losing sight of how powerful our reach is with what we're doing, right? It's definitely implementing us ourselves, but it's also influencing everyone else around us, to the point where our language, our fashion, our music, our term, you know, our everything is our foods, everything is being sprinkled into everybody else's culture, and they're not even given a just due. You know what I'm saying? And it's time for us to start saying, all right, It's more than just a month. It's more than just a one facet. If we really want to talk about Black dance or in this twerking, well, let's look at everything with dance, not just the one style of dance or the one thing. Let's look at how it's really being seen through Broadway, through movies, like you said, through videos, music videos, like choreography. All that stuff has been a thing where we have been behind the scenes, literally doing so much as part of what makes the bright lights and the production of things happen in entertainment. But a lot of us don't get that proper just due. But it's up to us to start telling the history now. So I'm glad you actually asked me that, and I appreciate you allowing me to share that, because yeah, those two people, Alvin Ailey and Debbie Allen, to me don't get as much praise that I feel like they should get. Not just them, there's other people too, but them specifically. When I see what's happening now with entertainment and choreography and dance and everything, I'm like, yeah, certain people, I'm seeing that somebody was there that probably learned from someone that really knew. Hey, Kendrick, we got to teach Kendrick how to dance the Super Bowl, and y'all got to dance behind him and not make him look like he doesn't know how to dance. Like, that's an art to itself, you know?
It's a lot of behind the scenes work that's happening that
Mm-hmm.
you know, us don't see. But, you know, I want to take a quick second to give some love to my homie Mega Bills in the building. Appreciate you, brother. I want to give some love to the homie Day Day, Purple Do-Rag in the building. Appreciate y'all for coming out. You know, please keep tuning in to Two Brothers and an Idea. We're going to keep giving y'all some fly content, but we're also going to be giving y'all that science, right? But we're going to touch a multidisciplinary we're going to use a multidisciplinary approach to go about whatever it is we talk about, right? So let's go ahead and let's give some shout outs, right, to our sponsors, right? So hey, everybody out there, right, go to your phone right now and go to nsmartt.art. Listen, go check out the website. Go spend some money with this brother, right? We got an amazing artist on the line right now. My brother Nayland right here. He's doing big things out here. Y'all show him some love. We're gonna as a community, we're gonna properly support. All right. Now listen, with that same phone, go to your Facebook and go to Mr. Smart Guy. Go to that page, click the follow button, and then right after you go to click the follow button, this is what you do next, right? You click the share button, right? And then you share it with everybody that you know, right? And you tell all of them, like, this is a quality dude that we got here on the video, and we got to support him, right? This is how we're going to do community support in the future. This is how we're going to make a connection, right? This is how we do that. All right. Now, in addition to that, right, keep your phone out. Go to roottribes.com. All right.
Yes.
Root Tribes has got some solutions to whatever health issue that you're dealing with. If you need somebody that you need to walk alongside you for that healing, Root Tribes. Now, keep your phone out and go to fhtii.com. If you need some leadership knowledge, right? Expose your gift knowledge. Go to that website. Now, listen, thank y'all very much. It's Two Brothers and an Idea, episode 30. We're talking about melanated artists. My brother, tell us a little bit about your art.
All right. So appreciate that segue, man. And again, everybody tuning in. I know he told me to talk about my art, but make sure y'all stay tuned in. There's big things to come with these type of conversations. I love what this brother's doing. But with my artistry, my medium is photography. I've been doing photography since, actually, this is about to be solidly my 10-year anniversary is about to be 2025. So I actually started doing it really specifically in 2015. Great things. It's been a journey, just tapping into my own voice. But my focus with my artistry is the concept of, or the ethos of, Black identity throughout the diaspora. Being someone that was born in New York, but came from Caribbean parents, I was told what was Black, or I was told I was Black, you know what I mean? But it was me going through my journey of being here, learning about people, what their experiences were here, the history of what this country has done with Black people, but understanding the trajectory of how history has presented Black people through the world. I started really tapping into just the concept of Black identity, you know, how we identify ourselves. And I realized that it's not just limited to what my experience is. So I've turned that in my understanding of that into connecting with people, creating with other artists, collaborations, and then actually projecting that into my artistry. So what you're actually seeing now, which I appreciate them showing, is a virtual art gallery that I recently created, which is compatible with PC, phones, tablets, VR as well. You can literally walk around, interact with the artwork. It has music playing as well in the background, which you probably might hear through the feed. But definitely it's something pretty new, pretty hip. But the virtual space is a way for everyone to experience the artwork and not feel limited to the traditional sense of how we've always seen art in traditional spaces. I think that's still a great mechanism for people to see art, but it's led me to the journey of my experience of doing exhibitions that a lot of people don't access art physically anymore. Whether it's their own, you know, mechanism of going out and seeing it, some of it's a lack of exposure on their part. Um, but the virtual space is a way for us to definitely tap in. And then some of my previous works, I have done an art magazine a couple years ago called Seasoning Magazine, which highlighted the local art scene in the area of the 757. The first edition, you know, featured some local artists that at the time were, in my opinion, setting a groundwork of positive exposure to the art scene in a contemporary way, you know. And then there's the second edition as well, that it was a photography edition that was actually pretty dope. We actually published over 85 local artists at the time.
I'm
So
getting
not
some I'm getting some Warhol vibes over here.
yeah, so yeah, the flyer was done by Down and Gross themselves for my solo exhibition. That was them doing that. I didn't tell them what to do. I was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna rock with it, you know. So I gotta shout them out for that. Yeah, but the second, I mean, the one on the right, the purple one, was definitely a collaborative experience. And yeah, man, it was definitely a great time capturing those things and really spotlighting what was happening at the time and seeing the trajectory that a lot of those people are on today. It's pretty dope, you know. And it's still going to be updated with some recent things that I have in the works. Like right now, I have a connection to the art scene, which is a group out in Richmond, Virginia. They do a lot of art events out there. They are actually sponsoring an exhibition taking place at the Basement in Richmond, Virginia. And it's a private space, so they do open it up to when they do like certain events like First Fridays and events that they are just, you know, participate, have the public participate in and access. But that's also why I created a virtual gallery. So as things are being documented, people can connect with that and see how they can. Yes, and then I do, of course, do personal photography work if everybody needs services. That is my price list as of right now. Please don't be afraid to reach out, you know, whether it's Instagram, whether it's Facebook, whether it's email. And let me know what you're trying to do. You know, the artwork is definitely more than yeah, that's a little setup right there. I gotta connect the boom boom. Yeah, you see how it works, y'all. It probably might not I'm like, hold on, Admiral. You like, yo, I'm gonna show y'all how it works real quick. Hey.
So we'll stop right there with it. But yeah,
Yeah,
everybody
yeah.
out there, y'all know what y'all need to do. All right, this is
Yes,
how you
yes.
click through. This is how you navigate through the
Look, it's
web.
like, yo, it works. He's like,
And
yo, it works.
you go straight to the places where you can spend some money. All right, spend some money with the brother. All right, and
And
everybody who
also,
come up here, we gonna put your business out there too, and we're gonna make sure that everybody's spending some money with you. We're about to become a very strong community. Go ahead, my brother. I'm
I
listening.
appreciate it. Nah, you good. You good. I was gonna say, like, also for everyone tuning in, uh, definitely the virtual space is gonna be constantly evolving. So there is gonna be more taking place to showcase other people and other aspects of artistry that's taking place, whether it's, you know, footage of a, you know, interview that I do or just content that someone else like yourself that you see brother Ferdinand around here doing his thing. He's might have some footage you all that can see through the gallery space soon, you know. So definitely stay tuned. It's going to be something not just limited to just artwork. But please support this brother right here and just the community as it progresses, and then you're tapping into what you're seeing from me. There's more to explore. You know, don't be afraid to branch out, take the next step. If you see you want to get more info, Google it. You might find something that piques your interest. But as far as the Black art aspect and what I'm doing, these type of conversations help fuel my artistry. You know, as I talk about these things and I see how it's affecting people, it makes me say, how can I translate this to the world? You know, and you know, this is something that a lot of artists I think don't share. It's like we have people in the past that have inspired us, but a lot of the inspiration, in my opinion, is the community and the people that we have around us constantly fueling our brain, you know, and fueling our passions to keep going.
Powerful, my brother.
Yes, sir.
Doing your thing, man. I'm happy for you.
Appreciate it, man. Happy for you and what you doing. You
Thank
doing
you,
some major moves right now.
I appreciate it. You know, I've been watching your progression for some years now. You know, I've been peeping the shows. Yeah, you know, keep doing your thing, man. You know, the journey is challenging. You know, this is one of the things that we was talking about. You know, because we get to a certain level, and you know, our cup is full. It's running over. You know, and we pour into cups. You know, so I know the journey is challenging, and I'm happy for where you are and where you're going.
Appreciate that, man. Appreciate that. And same, man. I've been seeing your progression as well, man. Just really just staying steadfast in your approach of not just sharing content that people can benefit from, but really being consistent in the, I guess you could say, the empowerment aspect of our community. You know what I mean? That's something I've seen with all the different stuff over the years, whether it's, you know, putting some video footage out there, doing a live stream, whether it's sharing some information and breaking it down. You know, I think just as a community, we have to start really embracing the different perspectives. You know, like I was saying to you a while back, you know, everyone has a voice in this, but what makes our community thrive is when we can all see the benefit of everybody's role in society, and we can learn from each other, but also help pour into each other, right? Like, you know, so you reaching out with this opportunity to speak to you, man, it's dope, because not just I see more to come, definitely, but even in this moment, it's like the connection, you know what I'm saying? The alignment of like, all right, you're evolving, I'm evolving, but the world around us is evolving, but people are literally trying to tap into more behind what they're seeing. You know, it's literally like they're trying to get context of like, why am I seeing this, or why am I seeing these colors, or why am I seeing this presented to me in such a way where I understand it, but I only understand it a certain way, you know? So you've always been very methodical in how you approach different topics. You know what I'm saying? I've even seen, you know, you people, you know, let people know like through messaging, like, hey, this, you know, online, like you trying to comment a certain way, but you're not even approaching this in a certain way. Like you very objective in your mindset of clarity. You know what I mean? And I think for people that are tuning in, really stay tuned with this brother and what he's doing, man. He's really tapping into a lot of facets of how we view the world. And I think it's time that we can't just always view everything from a linear way. We have to get a lot of perspectives that can take these little bits and pieces and make it fit into the puzzle, you know? And yeah, man, salute to you for really staying steadfast in your approach and keeping that moving forward, man, for real.
I really appreciate that, man. You know, and I'm gonna say this concerning that. Many years ago, I won. You know what I'm saying? Like I had somebody say something to me on Facebook not too long ago. Like, yo, you going at this person? You must be trying to get the title. I was like, the title? I was like, bro, I got the title decades ago. That's that's nothing. I've been the heavyweight champ for a long time.
Right.
What I'm doing at this point, and what I've been doing for years, is I'm trying to give other people opportunities. Because you know, once you become a fisherman, you shouldn't just be getting fish all by yourself. And then it's like, all right, let me sell to my homies. But every time my homies need fish, they got to come pay me. No, I've been trying to help other people become fishermen for a very,
Mhm.
very long time. At the same time, I got a chance to see why not everybody fishes.
Yes. Yes.
So,
Facts.
but that's what it is. Like, and then I didn't really realize that there was magnitudinal levels to keep going up in this and the things that I'm doing. So as I was giving away, the knowledge, doing the phone calls, hour or whatever, helping somebody through some perspectives on regress trauma and a number of other things that I was doing, I didn't really realize how I was growing. I didn't really realize what I was having to do. I didn't realize what I was having to dig out of myself to help, to help others. So there's been more transformation along the way, but
Yeah.
because of the wins, I had to learn these disciplines from scratch. I had to learn web design from writing code. I had to learn
Mhm.
newspaper layout and design, from scratch. I think we were working with Quark Express and
Mm.
and
Throwback.
yeah, like I mean, we weren't using the printing press.
Yeah, yeah.
Digital, like this is not Adobe InDesign that we're talking about here.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
learning motion graphics and all these different things from scratch, and then being able to come back and say, all right, well, I got all these tools, these gifts. So how about I align something that I care about, and I create this similar product. I create my own newspaper, I create my own magazine, my own books, my own TV shows, and do it all independent. And even if for 100 episodes the counter says zero,
Right.
no problem. It's mine. I created this from scratch. No AI, no chat GPT, no none of that. And not only does it put me in a position to build a catalog and kind of like shape an audience, it also puts me in a position where now I'm getting these different dopamine hits than if somebody else was to give me the attaboy.
Mhm.
I'm giving myself the attaboy. It's a different type of feeling, and then it fuels me to keep being able to create from this endless well that I can
Mm.
pull from. I don't know if I explained that well, but
Oh yeah, that's spot on. That's spot on. That's spot on. Agreed. And I'm glad you said it that way, because I think a lot of us are tapping into, how people say, like, what's the term, like a jack of all trades, a master of none. I've heard that a long time ago, right? But the thing is at this point, mastery is all in the mental, right? It's all about how you apply what you're learning into what you're trying to do. So taking different elements of, what you may be able to do, merging it together and then saying, look, this is the next phase, or this is what I'm going to present. That's something that requires a lot of mental toughness and a lot of mental awareness to be able to say, all these different things that I'm learning, I'm not just putting all my eggs into one basket, but it's all fueling me to get to this certain destination. So I definitely get it, man. And it's something commendable, bro. You've definitely been working on it. I've been seeing, like I said, like you've been someone that has been in recent years projecting what you want to actually visually see, manifest, and people to see and interpret. um, oh, I'm sipping on water, by the way, for the person asking what I'm sipping on. Look, it's clear. You doing that real water, alkaline water, real quick. Get right.
no,
So that's what I'm sipping on. But anyway, back to the whole thing. Yeah, man. And I think, again, for me as an artist, that as being in a lot of spaces in society as the artist and representing artistry or black art in certain spaces, I realize how finite our approach as black artists have been, or how artists have been throughout time, because we've limited ourselves to just what we create instead of really trying to get our voices into the conversations of society. And I think that's going to be the key now going forward, is that as people are trying to, comprehend or make sense of what's happening, people like the artists are literally interpreting everything that's being thrown into them and projecting it out. So I think we have a very good sense of awareness of what's taking place in society all the way through time, to the point that we were literally historians at one point. You know, all art was literally focused, and it still is, you know, but it's still archiving what's happening. And I think a lot of people don't even see art as the archiving of what is actually happening. They just see, oh, I'm just projecting it out. This is how I feel, or this is how somebody sees it. But 10 years from now, the the Mona Lisa, at one point somebody was like, that's not good looking art. I don't like it, or it's not worth whatever. But it's still being presented to this day as modern, I mean, historical art, and the art thing that people need to see. And the thing is
Well,
probably the size of a laptop.
I think a lot of people don't realize how literal art imitates life, life imitates art is. And then life, life is the same everywhere, but life is also different everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
The art is going to be slightly different, but then the art is going to, in certain ways, influence parts of life in those areas.
Mm-hmm.
Hence what you were bringing up about the Japanese twerkers, or the Japanese
Yeah,
breakdancers, or whatever.
yeah,
I see
yeah.
Korean twerkers, and then
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at ladies in these different African nations, and these ladies look like they just bought something off of Nicki Minaj's website.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. It's literally just the bouncing back and forth of it, right? And as again, as society is literally doing this and that, we as the creatives are literally in the middle, just seeing the tide shift, and we're just literally just constantly going into a sense of historians. We're literally historians in a lot of different ways, in how we are projecting our art, whether it's visual, whether it's audio, whether it's something that was a song that was popular 20 years ago, or a meme that happened, some a long time ago, or even that happened last week. It shows the sign of the times that we're in. You know what I mean? The comments is crazy. Shout out to the homies Smart Pop in our pod tomorrow, man. No doubt, man. I'm gonna try to connect with y'all. I'm sorry, man. When I see comments, I'll be trying not let them pass when I see it pop up. Yay! He's like, look, I'm here. He's like, I see you. Yeah, you didn't think I was gonna imitate you. He's like, nah. He's like, boom, right in your face. I see you. But yeah, man, it definitely is a great thing, man. I think as time progresses, I would definitely want to expand on these type of conversations. Oh, since that title popped up, I think it's a great segue for me to mention why the artistry and the spectacle, right? Like the title, right? So just a segue into that before we lose anybody. So I think it's important to mention the reason why I said the artistry and the spectacle is because when you look at Black art over time and even now, it goes back to like what we were talking about with the power of it, right? It's more than just the entertainment of us all. It's been that way since we've been doing a lot of things. But the way other people in other society view it, I feel like they celebrate the spectacle side, but not the true artistry side of it. All the different things that I mentioned, the historical aspect, the contemporary aspect, how it references the past, how it references, people that came before us and influenced certain things. All those things are not explored by other people, or it's not projected that they know what's going on with us. They just tap into what it is and the entertainment side of it, and then it gets lost in the translation of what it truly means. It give y'all a perfect example that are viewing. It's kind of like the just to make it digestible, the Kendrick Lamar performance at the Super Bowl. A lot of people saw it. If you were non-black, or quote unquote not really in tune with hip hop culture and what's happening, and I'm not talking about the beef part with Drake and Kendrick. I'm talking about the symbolism and how Kendrick has always presented himself as an artist or a musician. You did If you weren't tapped in, you just saw it as a performance. No, you're right. He did snap, but it was also for a certain audience to see, even though it was presented to everybody on a grand stage. You got to think about the concept of the Super Bowl. Is these people paid, they don't even get paid to perform. They're using their own funds to perform at the Super Bowl. That's one thing. Second thing is Kendrick is hot right now. Like he was hot before, but he was hot especially recently. His performance is nothing negative that I have to say about it. The only thing I'm saying is there's levels of appreciation that is very subjective to people to have, but I know for a fact if you look up online, a lot of people criticize the performance because they just didn't respect artistry. You get what I'm saying? They wanted it to be a certain thing because that's what they're used to. And to me, that's making it the spectacle because you want to be entertained. If you respected the artistry of it, you would have really nothing negative to say. You would just say what it is. And I'm just going to give this reference so people can understand. Nobody was complaining when Shakira and J-Lo was on stage at the Super Bowl shaking their bombs and doing all these dances over there, doing Let's Get Loud. Nobody was complaining about that. Justin Timberlake was on the Super Bowl doing his thing. Nobody complained about that. Nobody said, "Oh, the messaging, I don't get it." He ripped off a whole wardrobe malfunction on Janet Jackson, and the backlash was on her and not him. So, if you want to talk about the artistry aspect, like if you really respect it, you wouldn't have anything negative to say about the performance. You just be like, huh, okay, it's art, it is what it is. I'm gonna keep it moving. Not saying you shouldn't be entertained, but to criticize something because you don't understand it, that's where I go and say, all right, you're probably just looking for the spectacle side of it. And so when I look at black art, especially black art over time, when we talked about Debbie Allen and Alvin Ailey's and all these influences that people like that have done, there are different spurts of what people find synonymous of black art and identity of black people. So when you think of twerking, you think of black people. Mind you, nobody talks about the belly dancers. Nobody talks about the dances of Hispanic women doing certain things. You know what I'm saying? Moving their hips a certain way. Like it's always been in the face of us being well, look at what they're doing. And whatever justification of what you want to do, it's not even what I'm talking about. I'm literally saying again, it's the artistry side of it and the spectacle side. And it's not just black art, it's art, period. But to really respect black art, you have to know that both of those things exist. And I draw the line in saying that you can't criticize black art just from the spectacle side and shun the artistry side. And this is what society's been doing for a lot of over time by literally putting everything in a Black History Month. So now in Black History Month, we're gonna show the Wiz. Oh, now it's Black History Month, we want to show Roots. Oh, now it's Black History Month, we want to show y'all this performance of so and so singing the national anthem. You know, nah, like it's the artistry and the spectacle. And as black people, we got to understand it's those two things. And for the monetization to happen, they're not paying us to show off the artistry. They're paying us because they want the spectacle side of things. You know what I mean? Like that's how I'm seeing
You know
it. So
what? Let me touch that for a second. All right, let's go back to the Super Bowl halftime show. This is something that Purple Durag and I we've talked about quite a few times privately, as well as on Late for Breakfast podcast that airs every Tuesday at 8 p.m.
tune in.
Anyway, but yeah, so the Super Bowl, I think that the artistry was dope, right? But at the end of the day, I'm one of those people. I see past those types of things, and I'm looking at how control works when we're talking about rituals that bring in hundreds of millions of people in multiple different types of ways, possibly billions of people at this point because of the reach of social media and television airwaves and things of that nature. Now, what I'm looking at with that Super Bowl halftime show is how the artistry relayed a message of revolution and rebellion from a group of people who don't know anything about those things. They might say, "Oh, 400 years, my family." Be quiet. You don't know nothing about revolution, and you just put out a revolutionary message in front of a largely Caucasian audience who paid the bills for that event to take place. And I'm not hating on them. I'm not hating on Kendrick or Aftermath Records, but I am looking at the reality of this whole situation. We've got the planet of rebellion and revolution coming into the realms of communication, Gemini, very soon, and we right before that we have the biggest stage in America have a revolutionary message come out from someone who doesn't know anything about revolution, right? The artistry is great. You know, you had SZA, you know, in the red, Serena, you know, Crip walk in and all this, you know, the ex-girlfriend. Then you performed the beef song, whatever the beef song is called. You know, you embarrassed Drake. You know, you did what you needed to do. You put the game over up there. Now, what's next? Is next your audience going to watch all of your music videos of all time and then looking at all of your pictures and stuff and being able to argue about who's the greatest, Biggie, Jay-Z, Nas, or Kendrick? Like, this is what just happened with the artistry, that it was utilized, it was hijacked by Zionists.
And to your point, that's why I feel like it's been turned in the artistry and the spectacle, right? Like, I didn't say versus, I said because it can be flip-flop depending on which way you're viewing it. So if you're trying to influence the people, I want you to think it's the artistry, but I'm really just showcasing the spectacle. To your point, it's no action. Y'all can talk all what y'all want to do, and the revolution will be televised. You got the right time with the wrong guy. It's like, what y'all about to do? Perform for everybody with the messages, and we all hype about it, and it was dope. But we were back to our regular scheduled programming on Monday. So to your point, it's literally like that's what I've seen over time. It's like we seeing it as the artistry, but it's really the spectacle of it, right? You turn it into the thing where you can't differentiate the two. But what you just broke down is no wrong or wrong. We're saying both the right things. The funny part is the people are embracing the spectacle side and saying it's art. And then the artistry is being projected, and it's like, yeah, I'm inspired. And it's like, yeah, we know.
We're watching the same reactions in the digital age of what the reactions were in the Colosseum during that age. We're just watching how things work in Rome.
Man, it's the same thing. It's literally and I'm so glad you said that, because literally that's the spectacle. You had people fighting for their death, for life or survival, freedom, whatever was dangled in there, whatever, but for the entertainment, enjoyment of people. And so when you have our essence of Black people throughout the diaspora and what we've contributed, you can go across all types of spectrum of artistry and entertainment and see how it has been taken or watered down from what we've done to a more presentable way of consumption for the masses. We like what you're like. That's another reason why, just to bring that up, I thought it was ironic. He had Samuel Jackson out there dressed as Uncle Sam, also telling him like, this is how you should operate, right? And if you look at the guy Samuel Jackson, he's been an actor for so long and he's done so many different roles. But one iconic role he played was in Django, where he played a guy named Steven who was a house slave, who was like the epitome of a house slave. So him playing Uncle Sam and trying to tell and censor Kendrick or whatever, they knew like, how revolutionary is it that they told him, yeah, do all of that. We want you. These people are approving the performance. You think it's really about the messaging or the fact that they want you guys to consume more pizza? We want you to consume more food. We want you to buy more alcohol. We want y'all to go to work the next day. We also want you to listen to music and the same songs that are being played everywhere, being put in commercials. We want y'all to hear that too. So we got to make sure that y'all feel hype about this. No, people were literally tuning into the Super Bowl to just see the performance. And mind you, the energy was kind of been like that for a while with the Super Bowl, where people would say, "Nah, I'm tuning in just for the Super Bowl performance." But we all know that that platform was created that way for a reason. The fact that these artists have to put their own money into their performances is already like ding, ding, ding. That should tell you something. Hey, look, we want y'all can perform out here or not. And then another thing to add, how ironic was it? What, 2 months before they had a football game where they just did a Beyonce performance and allowed her to like almost like a Super Bowl, right? That was exclusive to Netflix, right? Like you had to be tuned in to see it, but it was like I was watching this joint like this is like Super Bowl. Like I'm like, okay. And then I realized I said, bruh, this is funny that they are at one point the country music people were saying Beyonce is not country music. Now she getting country music Grammys. It's like, yo, pay attention to why this is happening. It's because it's profitable. Black art has been profitable when it's presented as the spectacle in the guise of the artistry, because the essence of black art has always been true artistry. But if you present it as a spectacle, you can monetize it. And that's why I had to really say to myself, like, these type of conversations about black art are happening behind the scenes where people are trying to monetize it and make money from it, while we don't even know and appreciate what's being created. We don't have a true understanding of authentication of what we're doing. We don't in artistry. We don't have a true concept of value what we're doing. We don't have a concept of ownership. So when all these things are being projected, we're getting literally, encompassed or taken over by the people that see the value in it and want to monetize from it. And we're like, well, shoot, we could get a check or we could get this. Let's go ahead and do it. But over time, again, as people are perceiving things and projecting it and influencing other things, they're not truly appreciating the artistry side of what we've been doing this whole time. It's been something to really dissect when you start looking at everything across the board when it comes to black art and entertainment, especially like the fact that they always showing slave stories, bro. To this day, they'll gladly put a slave story out in a movie.
Let me touch that real quick, right? So I'm putting something up on the screen for everybody, and I want everybody to understand how suggestion works. Okay, suggestion is very, very powerful. What we experience in repetition, we ultimately become. Okay, we start to shape our existence with the repetition of whatever it is, repetition of habits, repetition of shapes that we see, colors that we see, things that we smell, things that we put through the secretions of our skin, things that we put in our mouth. Ultimately, all of these become electrical impulses in the brain, starts to shape a reality, right? So if you want to shape a group of people's reality and they've all said, hey, I'm going to watch your TV, I'm going to use your iPhone, I'm going to use these social media platforms, and you've got the permission by them to give them poisonous suggestions, well, they're never going to grow, right? They're going to stay in a state of fear. Remember, when we talk about spiritual paralyzers, we're talking about fear, guilt, doubt, disbelief, despair, shame. Well, when you bring up a bunch of stories on slavery and the major atrocities that happened during those times, and this is the entertainment, this is the spectacle. Well, what you're ultimately doing is you're keeping a group of people locked in a certain time period, right? Very similar to what we see in these trauma reactions from people who have issues with their parents, or they have some other types of issues along the way, and then they shape a perspective and belief of themselves that is not necessarily worthy in those situations. So they act out behavior that we call trauma reactions. Well, this is how you do that with a whole ethnic group of people, and you'll watch
Facts.
it happen in real time. It's part of the national narrative, the national propaganda, to keep a group of people who could be considered the sleeping giant on the planet, the sleeping Nephilim on the planet, and you're making sure you keep them asleep for as long as possible, because the day that they wake up, they'll retake the entire earth.
Facts, man. Facts. And I'm so glad you saying that, because that's literally it, y'all. For everybody tuning in, that's what I broke down is literally the front word approach of what it is. What he just broke down is literally the whole mechanism behind it, like why it's even a thing. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I'm also seeing. Like, we got to start looking at things in layers, right? There's surface level stuff, like there's the symbolism, yes, but then it's like, but why though? Why is it like that? Why is it presented that way? Why does the red, white, and blue has to be seen presented in a performance in a lot of different levels, right? Like, why we had to be seen in this, Uncle Sam had the old get up with the hat, the propaganda imagery, all of that. It's yeah, it's the performance and artistry side, but like you said, it's all these different things stacked on each other. The time frame of when this came out, the spotlight, the cameras of when it came out. You know what I'm saying? What songs he did perform. You know what I mean? The songs that people are familiar with, the songs that people are not familiar with. Like, it makes you literally go on the spectacle of the roller coaster, right? Like, you gotta go ups and downs to really, oh, that was a great ride, y'all. I think I want to do that again. And to your point, that whole ebb and flow of it and that control is what makes people like numb to it, but yet yearning for it, right? It's like we we're so accustomed to seeing black art presented in such a way that it's always been the spectacle, bro. Like, it's always been that hand in hand, to the point where you got to go deep in the archives of our culture to pull out the footage of Jackson 5 content. And it's
Yes.
like, well, why is it like that? Because these is a young group of black men doing their thing. Brothers, it's showing family, it's showing all of these other things, natural state, talent. Yeah, but these were on high end stages, bro. These are the shows that were when we didn't really have TVs like that, and it was starting to become a thing. And black people was probably still having black and white TVs while everybody else was having color, and the big joints are tuning in. Yo, these people were on the Ed Sullivan show. They were on what's his name? The dude Casey Kasem and Cher, Sonny and Cher show. All these stuff on the 70s are appealing to white non-black audiences. And they were in the forefront, killing it, sought after, all that stuff. But it's like, when you go look up Jackson 5, you're like, dang, I gotta go through the portal of YouTube or whatever to see it. Not saying that it shouldn't be that way, but it's just, you have to really immerse yourself now into really researching and finding out information about us to
Yes.
really appreciate us. And when I realized that these things are happening in society, we're not giving black art, in my opinion, the true breakdown that it deserves, to really see why. Like, once we understand why it's a thing, we'll understand why everybody's trying to embrace it and make it a part of their culture or have it influence what they do. You know what I mean? It's
Right.
happening. So yeah.
And that's all a big part of that great awakening that's taking place right now. As people wake up, the part of the wake up process is not just understanding the truth, it's also pulling out of ourselves who we truly are, right? So this is called educo, to draw out
Mm,
from within. And when we draw out from within, well, there's a whole lot of Jay-Z's. There's a whole
mhm.
lot lot of Nikola Teslas, and the Nikola Teslas of the descendants of the ancient Americans who
Mhm.
are us. They make Tesla look like he was in fifth grade with the kind of stuff he was doing.
Mm.
Y'all, we got
Mm.
to look at that pyramid on Giza. That's
Mhm.
that's the most some of the most respected scholars that I'm aware of have all called it the most powerful power plant that's ever been created. The most
Mm.
important power plant, not the most important structure, the most important power plant that's ever
Mhm.
been created. When we look at the way it was built, it not only is the most important power plant, it's also the largest instrument, musical instrument that's ever been created on this planet. I will say, as far as what we know.
Mhm. Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah, man.
So when we talk about artistry,
Mhm.
we can bring in our ancient ancestors in that conversation, and it just kind of unfolds even more. It's like a whole nother layer of
Mhm.
conversation. But then when we come back up from our ancestors and we come back up to now, see, that's the beauty of what happened when the Europeans who were in control here said, you know what, we're gonna have a glass ceiling on all these guys, but we got to take the glass ceiling off a couple of these industries because we want to make a whole lot of money. So let's take the glass ceiling off of this music industry. Let's take the glass ceiling off of this sports industry. We got to let these guys soar if we want to see them really do some stuff that everybody is wowed by. Well, next thing you know, Nayland and Ferdinand are sitting here talking about how the whole world has been influenced by these individuals.
Mhm.
Talking about
Mhm.
dancing in Japan, twerking in Korea, wearing super tight clothes and super revealing stuff in multiple different African nations where they don't even have paved roads.
Mhm.
This is art. This is the
Yes, sir.
spectacle. Art
Mhm.
imitating life, and then life imitating art.
I agree. I agree. I agree, man. I agree. I love it. And to your point, that's why it's like, again, breaking down the art and the artistry and the spectacle side is important because that's literally what society is, man. It's the artistry of everything and then the spectacle side. Like what happens before social media, something happened in the street, everybody stopped and looked. Like, what the heck is that? You know what I mean? It could be abundance of things. That's the spectacle of it. You know what I mean? The person that's screaming, leave me alone at Walmart, that's being recorded. That's a spectacle of life. But then when you go outside and see someone literally like, hey, picking their kid up, putting them in the shopping cart, making sure they're good, or you look up and see the sunset, or you see, just everything, just the leaves flowing on the ground or whatever, just the simplicity of just how the world works. That's the artistry of it. You know what I mean? The ability to walk past somebody, they give you a head nod, you give them a head nod, no words exchanged, just a head nod of a salute and keep it moving. Or it could just be a smile, it could just be nothing. But coexisting amongst each other is the artistry of it too. But when we see this, the scream of attention, the cry of, I need to get viewership, I need to get likes, I need to get seen and be viral. I mean, what is that? You know what I mean? For me, I had to realize there's a term. It's called the spectacle, and I realized that's literally how that pulls on the essence of our brain. Like you said something before about creating your own dopamine. Like when you really are aware of yourself and you can fuel and say, "I want to see this," and you're like, you know what? I'm gonna manifest and generate that and get that to that point of it is here now. Not only do you have power and awareness, but you repel all the BS because you realize, nah, I don't have to fake this to get this. I don't have to try to use someone or a certain thing to get it to be a certain way. I could just say, look, I'm going to just make this pop out. And so, literally, with Black artistry, that's what we've been doing through centuries, through the beginning of time. We've been literally the craft makers of the world, you know? And it's time that our voices as artists on all different levels, we start integrating our voice into society. That's my and that's why I like the conversation we have, because you're an artist yourself, yes, but you're a world thinker. You're someone that's not limited to just, well, I'm an artist, or I'm this, so this is how I should be, or this is how I should perceive things. And I think as Black people, we have to start dissecting why that's a thing. Like, why are we trying to do that? You know what I mean?
I
Like,
got
why is that? Yeah.
I got a story for that, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
and it's going to help to answer that why that you're talking about,
Mm-hmm.
right? Well, I served in the military for 14 years, and
Mm-hmm.
I served in multiple combat zones. So the thing about that is this: when you're a combat photographer, when you're a combat journalist, you're more than likely. Well, I ain't gonna say. I don't want to speak for anybody else. Let's say me.
Yeah.
I identified as that combat journalist. When people would talk to me, it was conversational currency. And I didn't understand what I was doing by identifying as that combat journalist, right? And we got a lot of people out here who are identifying as things. I'm a welder, I'm an actor, I'm a this, I'm a that, not realizing that most of them ain't doing those things independently. Most of them
Mm-hmm.
are doing those things on behalf of some company. And there's nothing wrong with it. Get your money, right? Everybody out there, get your money. However, understand that one day you're not that anymore. One day you're not that actor, you're not that welder, you're not that whatever anymore. Unless you do it on your own, you fund it all yourself. You built the platform yourself. You write the scripts yourself, or you take your money and you outsource for those things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now you're something again that you have chosen to be. But the better thing to do is to be I am, right? And this is one of the biggest lessons of my life, because when that was taken away from me, when I wasn't able to say, oh, I'm a combat journalist, when I wasn't able to say that anymore, I didn't know what to say. I didn't know how to describe me. I went through a full depression as a result of that. And this is common for individuals who might be going through an identity crisis. So how we put ourselves in a better position to not have to go through those things is by understanding who we really are, knowing thyself, Temet Noshe, walking that path of purity to be able to fully unfold as the 1,000-petal lotus flower.
I feel that. I feel that. The journey of awareness, like, and realization, right? It's like that takes time. And, to your point, yeah, that makes a lot of sense why it's that way, because you put yourself in a, like, going back to what you said about yourself personally, like, you put yourself in a position to identify. And then when that was removed, you had to, like, really understand how that was just a section of you. There was really way more to you that created you, even to the comfortability of identifying with that aspect. But now, like you said, yeah, combat photographer, which had journalism, which had photography, which had, liaison, which had all these different facets, but people still only saw the title of the words combat, and then, right? So then they just saying, all right, well, that's just what it is. That's all I need to know. That's what he said he is. That's what he is. And that's not realized. Again, what you just said is it echoes the sentiment of even the stigma of being a Black artist, or saying I do Black art, or, expressing myself in that type of medium, or that presentation. It's like you feel like you're confining yourself at times, but then when you start breaking down the levels of Black art, you realize it's deeper than that. Just like you said, combat photography, what you just described, I would have thought you were just there just taking photos in the war zone. No, you had to actually speak about what you were doing, what you saw. People came up to you and said, "Excuse me, what you doing?" Or what's up with this? Because you are dressed a certain way, but you're not moving the way that they see. It's like when you see that in nature, like that duck, you see everybody in that single file mama duck, and then the baby ducks line up But then there's that one duck that's veering off a little bit. You like, okay, what you doing? But then they get back in line. You know what I'm saying? It's like, nah, something's different about that duck. And that's what we've been doing a lot in society as Black people. You know what I mean? Just really identifying with a lot, but not really embracing what it is that we truly represent being Black, you know, or just embracing that part before anything else. You
Well,
know, that's
the problem in that situation is allowing emotions to be hijacked, right? This is something that we've allowed to happen because we choose to tune in to things that give us instant gratification that we didn't create. So this is a major problem. When we grow through that part, we will start to have healing, but we'll also start to rise really, really easy in an independent way, as independent as a people, in real unity, right? This is this is the main thing that we need to be doing, right?
yeah.
But there has to be a whole lot of unlearning and relearning first, because most of our people are heavily indoctrinated and they don't even know it. So like I could walk into a room and I could tell them the truth about whatever. It doesn't even matter what it is, right? Anybody could pick any specific discipline, and then I tell them the truth about that. And then I could even say, all right, well, listen, I created a library called the Mastermind Library, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and pull a couple books, and I'm going to show you from some respected authors the same information from multiple different time periods. And most of our people are so indoctrinated that they would sit there and they would find a way to discredit the authors of those books, and they would be more focused on displaying whatever emotional reaction that they're having, whether it be through speech or it be through body language, than to listen. And I'm gonna tell you why. This is a spiritual price that they're paying, and they don't even know it. See, if we open up the Quran of Mecca, Quran, right? That Quran. If we open that one up and we go to chapter 2, instruction 7 through 10, it speaks about a spiritual price of having your heart, your eyes, and your ears covered because of how you live it. And in that space, a lot of people are like, oh, well, I ain't tripping if my heart, my eyes, and my ears are closed. Well, what is it closed to? The only thing that it's closed to is the truth. So what happens is what we see from those individuals, and they don't even realize that they're telling on themselves, that their eyes, their ears, and their heart is covered. They give major trauma reactions when the truth is spoken, right? We hear the stories about these narcissistic individuals. We hear the stories about the 8 trauma reactions, and we see it on a regular basis. These are individuals who are paying a spiritual price and don't know that the ultimate price of it is death.
Deep facts. I mean, whew. Yeah, and that's what's amazing about this conversation, because I feel like we're at a point where we're both intersecting on what's happening, even though different journeys, whatever. It's
just
like,
by talking about art.
Yeah, just by talking about art, which is amazing, and that's what makes this a great thing to really share or just activate or cultivate all those different things, is because the conversations about Black art, bro, is to me what the main purpose of even why I said the artistry and the spectacles, because the conversations behind it, man, is what fuels it. I got my first taste of that understanding when I did my first exhibition in Newport News in 2019, and as far as a solo exhibition, and that was my first time interacting with people that literally came specifically just to see my artwork. And it was young people, old people my age, people I never met before, people that I knew for a while. And the conversations about how people perceived it or what they interpreted from it really made me understand the deeper essence of art. It's definitely a big thing about projection of what you have internally. But like you said, art imitates life, life imitates art. And when you start really understanding what you're projecting as an artist, you really pay attention to what's fueling your creativity, what's fueling your essence, your ethos of where you're going with it. And after a while, you know, if you're one of those people that were dropping a post online and, you know, or dropping a picture of yourself as a model or a photo as a photographer or a dope video clip, a lot of these people don't last. A lot of people don't last as far as keeping it going because they didn't have the ethos really understood of what they were trying to do as an artist or what they were trying to project. They were, like you said, focused on the smaller essence of it all. Like, all right, if I was saying I'm a, huh?
Can I touch that just for a second?
Yeah.
So I've been blessed to do a speaking engagement on at a financial conference coming up this Saturday, right? And
word.
so for the promo, they did a live video on financial freedom, and they asked us a bunch of questions. So the question that they asked me, the first question was, what's the biggest mistake that people make in this journey, you know, going after finances? And you know, everybody was asked the same question. My answer was that most people don't start off with the proper foundation of truth, right? And the reason why I wanted to bring this up is because I think it aligns directly with what you're talking about. When you don't start with the proper spiritual, mental, and physical foundation, you set yourself up to hit your head really hard on a glass ceiling that you didn't even know you put there.
That is so true. Like it was something. It's, to your point, it was something I learned a long time ago of the law of the lid. It was a book I read. It was I believe it was Robert Maxwell was the author, and then that book was the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership.
John Maxwell.
John Maxwell. My bad. I said Robert Maxwell. John Maxwell. And one of the things they referenced was the law of the lid. And the concept is like you just described, literally people literally creating their own limitations to where you're placing yourself in your own box. That's why I was making a little graphic of like, because like you said, it's going to be a process of realizing that you were even in a lid or you had a ceiling that was placed there, but you're the one that placed it there. It's like literally hitting the top, and then you're like, I just hit my head, and then you're like, wait a second, I could just push this over and just get out this motherfucker.
How did it get there? If I'm able to just move it over like that, how did it get there? Dang.
Sunlight hit you. It's like,
I didn't even realize I created that. I did
right.
that.
And then you blink, and then it's like, oh, you're in open space. And to your point, like that's what I see a lot of conversations needing to happen. Like we got to get people to that understanding of freeing the mind and freeing the confinement. And part of it is the dialogue amongst each other being conducive for growth or foundation or building. Wealth, ownership, health, finances, a lot of things align with what we need to really pay attention to as people. And I feel like so much has been hijacked in our airwaves of Black community, Black people, that it's time that we start pushing back against this and pushing back by, you know, literally how you have everybody doing the spectacle side. The conversation is also, to me, the artistry. You know what I'm saying? The proper conversation where we can have dialogue and it's not taken over by emotional points or, you know, not addressing reality or facts of what has happened. This is where the chaos takes place. So it's just refreshing to just really experience this, you know what I mean? And I definitely want to, you know, build more about these conversations with Black art, you know, not just, you know, the spectacle artistry side, you know, different elements, but even highlighting individual artists. Like, you know, you gave me the opportunity to talk about Debbie Allen, Alvin Ailey, you know, just even connecting the dots on what the new kids are seeing now, like all these TikTok videos and these dance moves. And it's like, what if I showed you there's a video clip of some people performing in the 60s, Black folks, and they were doing the same thing. I can put you on Soul Train right now, and I'm like, they was doing all the dances that y'all turn into TikTok dances. You know what I mean? It was a little groove, right? And but we don't get the opportunity to really present what we're doing in that type of light. You know, it's always just a entertain, be happy. You had a good time, right? Okay, yeah. Nah, you got other people going. Like, that was a major thing about, just to touch on this real quick before we, segue, but like, a major thing about Black artists that were experiencing musicianship and fame in like the 50s, 60s, your Chuck Berrys, everybody used to talk about how a lot of racism they experienced in the States. But when they went overseas, yeah, racism was a thing, but they were revered and they were respected. And it was because these people were trying to imagine you in UK and you see freaking I'm gonna just give an example. You see, let's just say Michael Jackson on TV and being projected as a mega star. And this guy comes to your country and he's able to connect with, he's just walking the street or he's doing his thing, but he's showing what he is. Bro, the reason why you have impersonators is because people saw what he did and wanted to imitate that formula. You know what I mean? Like that presence of you seeing that and being like, I want to learn, I want to understand. They did that shit with the music. They studied the Herbie Hancocks. They studied jazz people because they were trying to imitate that sound. They knew that sound was profitable. They knew that sound was powerful. But they don't have the boom bap in their system. They weren't walking around with drums just going ham and literally creating the instruments for a lot of stuff. So it was like, you know what? How do we get there? And then they said, oh, so we got Ray Charles here. We got somebody here and they showing us blues music or they showing us this. Hey, Jimmy, can you imitate? Can you play the guitar like how you see him play it? You got to learn how to play like him. Well, damn, after a while, it's like, I can't play like that Negro. Okay, well, why don't we create our own version? Ah, you're right. Mr. Sandman, bring me a dream.
Let me show you why. Now, let me show you. Let me show you why. I'm about to put something on the screen that's going to help everybody out there understand why. And this is super important what y'all about to see. This picture that y'all are looking at is from an 1800s newspaper. I don't remember the exactly which newspaper. Okay, but when we look at the why did all this happen the way that it happened? Why did oppression happen the way that it happened? Why so many artists having trouble with their royalties? Why ain't more melanated people in certain political positions? Why is the school system a big load of the garbage? Right? It's because of this right here. If I hadn't or killed you, you would have growed up to rule me. This is why, right here.
Not to mention, there's so much in here. There's so much in here, but I love the gun in his hand smoking. But from an artist perspective, that could be perceived in certain ways. That could be a bottle with something coming out of that bottle. But I know it's a gun, the projection of a gun. But just the whole idea of the infancy of the Black person and the older presentation of the white person, right? It's like, nah, there's an understanding of what you can do that you don't even understand because you're not even in the development mindset of trying to understand. You're just trying to exist, whether it's you being of that baby age or just mentally in a constant mindset of just trying to exist. So this person is literally seeing, all right, I gotta do this before they do this, but I'm gonna say it's in self-defense. That's amazing. Hence, goes back to the symbolism of having Samuel Jackson as Uncle Sam in that depiction. It's like the depiction of Uncle Sam was always this white man, you know, with a beard and the goatee, looking like pointing at you like you need to do what you need to do. It's like that was the intimidation factor. It was always the energy of what oppression looked like was showing you that that's the figure, like the person that's methodically seeing everything and plotting before you can even fathom what's about to happen. That's what it is about playing chess that people don't think about. Like, no, they're that good at saying, in my defense, this is why I did this, or this is why I created this system to subjugate people like you. Wow. And you know what this reminds me of? This is like on some, this is profound because I never forget one time I was working at a company and I was like the only black guy working in that company. It was an HVAC company. And it was one of those profound, like, you know, how you kind of get cool with some coworkers and you see different sides of them. And I'm going to just be transparent. Like, a lot of white people, they are very different when it comes to comfortability of presentation when they get comfortable, right? Like, it's like, I didn't know you was doing that or all. Like, you want some? Nah, I'm good. I don't do that. You good. You on a job doing that. Like, that's crazy. Long story short, we on a rooftop, bro. And I just, you know, you know how you just kind of like hear somebody talking and, you know, he's talking about other coworkers and how so-and-so used to be in the Klan and da-da-da-da-da-da. It wasn't him trying to intimidate me. It was him trying to give me a sense of, yo, like, I don't know if you feel or you picked up on the weirdness a little bit with some of these folks, but I'm just kind of letting you know, yeah, so-and-so used to be a Klan member, da-da-da. And then I literally looked at him and I said, let me ask you something. And I said, I just had the gumption because I was like, this dude's singing rap songs and everything. I said, all right, we comfortable? All right, I'm going to ask you, why do white people fear black people? I said it just like that. I didn't laugh. I didn't smile. I said, it's something that I've noticed through a lot of different facets of different areas of society. White people operate in a way where they have to present like a fear or differentiation between you and black people. Like, what is that? Like, what's up with that? And he looked at me and he was like, you know, to be honest with you, it's power. I said, huh? He said, yeah, man. Like, if you really think about society, like some people gotta be doing stuff with a sense of not really trying to be going up in the world, or some people have to feel like they gotta have other people beneath them to do certain things. And like, look at slavery wasn't just in Africa, or it was a lot of places around the world. It was literally a thing that was done to build, you know, foundational societies and cities across the world, and having people being subjugated. So yeah, it's a power dynamic. Like, white people want to have some level of power, so they start with black people. I looked at him and I was like, huh. And I said to myself, that was an eye opener because I don't think he's ever been asked that by anybody like myself. That was number one. But number two, that candidness of keeping it real or whatever, I wanted that. You know what I'm saying? Like, that was literally one of those, like, no, I want you to tell me the damn truth. Like, forget the whole, you know, my parents taught me this or this is what I know. What is it really coming down to? And when he said that, I said, how many of us have actually asked anybody that is quote unquote white that we may suspect of racism that question? Like, why don't white people typically or whatever, why white people carry this a certain way with us? And they be like, I don't do that. Like, I'm not racist. I don't. Nah, you are. Like, we don't even got to do nothing. Y'all just be on some energy of like changing your verbiage. Oh, you know what I'm saying? Like, why you got to change the way you talk around me? Like, that little stuff like that is so subliminal, right?
Dominant and recessive genes.
Boom. You know what I'm saying? Like it's to the point where they don't, that understanding of I have to be in a position, but I have to do it in a way where someone is beneath me and not. And again, it's like you're saying these people are beneath me, and
Have you
this is where
ever have you ever read a book called Metu Neter?
I've heard it before, and I think you referenced it, but I've heard it before you referenced it. We'll talk to me.
I recommend taking a look at that book at
Send me
least.
that title, please, and the author when you get a moment.
Absolutely. I chapter 1 is the main thing. I mean, I would read the whole book, but chapter 1 focuses on how left-brained activity and right-brained activity has shaped the world that we see today. And it speaks very heavily on the left brain side of thinking that comes primarily out of the European nations and what the world looks like today as a result of that being the dominant thinking in the world.
Gotcha. That makes okay. See, I like this because it's like as I'm referencing these things, and you're like, yo, boom, 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 boom. It's like, okay, for those tuning in, you have to think what life is about is definitely your journey, but it's also not being afraid to learn from others and learn from other experiences. And that's what I like about this dynamic because as I'm sharing these things with you, you're like, boom, well, boom, check out this reference, blah, 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 for what you're referring to. And I'm like, good. It's not even to me a sense of validation, right? It's a sense of realization. And I think, black folks that not just black folks, people that have turning in, period. It's like there's a difference between realization and validation. They don't work the same. You may think they are the same or synonymous, but validation and realization are two different things. So if you're governing yourself from a sense of validation, you're only constantly looking for that to be the governance of why you think something is correct. But realization is not only you finding out information, but you having a sense of inner understanding of what certain things can be. So when you are hearing something that's referencing something, you're like, yo, this makes certain sense. Okay, boom, gotcha. Okay.
So if you don't mind, I'm gonna read a little bit of
Please,
this.
please do your thing.
During the last 40 years or so, the Western scientific community has come to realize that the human brain is composed of two parts with diametrically opposed, yet complementary functions. They are known as the left and the right hemispheres of the brain. To understand this subject, we must realize that underlying all mental activities are two sets of functions, one in charge of relating us and the variety of things in our environment to each other and to the whole, and the other function is in charge of separating us and the variety of things in our environment from each other. The latter function, which corresponds to the left hemisphere of the brain, enables us, for example, to distinguish between the sounds made in speaking and verbal thinking, that we will be able to speak and think verbally. The language function of the right hemispheres enables us to unify the words we perceive into phrases, these into sentences, and so on into larger units, that we will be able to comprehend what has been spoken or thought. The acts of speaking and verbal thinking are processes that occur in a series of steps, one at a time. The understanding of what is thought and said is a process that occurs in one step. Since the acts of speaking and verbal thinking are processes that occur at separate points in time, they are therefore carried out by the left hemisphere, which is in charge of all processes of segregation and differentiation. Conversely, the act of extracting the significance from a series of related units, which is carried out in one step, is under the jurisdiction of the right hemisphere, which is in charge of all functions of unification and integration. In summary, let's note that the left hemisphere of the brain is in charge of noting the differences between things, separating wholes into parts, and enabling us to deal with all sequential phenomena, wholes presented pieces at a time. This mode of thinking is popularly known as analytical, Cartesian, serial, linear, deductive, segregative, etc. The right side is in charge of noting the similarities between things and their relation to each other and the whole, thus unifying them. This mode of thinking is generally known as synthetical, holistic, congregative, etc. We must also note that the left side of the brain is extroverted and is therefore the means for the outer culture noted above. The right side is introverted and is the means for the inner culture.
Yeah, profound. That makes sense.
So let me go
That,
into the next paragraph real quick and I'm gonna stop.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, because this next one's got some juicy information.
Yeah.
Although both functions are complementary, that is, their equal inputs are needed for every mental activity to be complete. Most people have a predominance of one over the other. We all know too well of people who can generate a profusion of words, yet make little sense, or go off on tangents, etc. Too much left and too little right. On the other hand, we know of people who are not very expressive verbally. In fact, are poor communicators, yet are profound. Critical to this book is the fact that these hemispheric differences are not randomly distributed through society. Men in general are more left sided than women, and so are members of the white race in comparison to non whites, a well known fact to Western psychologists. We will come to learn that hemispheric differences are one of the main shaping forces of cultural differences and the historical events that such differences have engendered. In fact, without this concept, there can be no science of history or psychology or anthropology or understanding of religion.
Dope. That is dope. That makes a lot of sense on why Black people are the way they are and why we don't think. Again, I talked to you on the phone earlier, and I was like, we don't think about systems as Black folks. You know what I mean? Just naturally, of all right, we doing this over here. Let's make a system. Let's create a authentication aspect. Like, think about how people are saying, like, the concept of pulling a black card from people. Who's the authoritative figure to say you're not Black if you don't know this or if you're not doing this? And it's a joke in society, but it's some real deep stuff when you really think about why everyone else feels so comfortable with our culture and we don't. Like, we don't see, like, we're embracing not all of our culture, we're embracing certain parts. And everyone else is literally sitting back and dissecting, like, I know there's Black people like this. I know there's Black people talk like this. I know if I say this a certain way, or if I act a certain way, if I got a certain haircut, if I say, I eat a certain thing, they'll connect with that. And they'll think I'm cool. Like, who to think that way is crazy. But if you think about it, it's normal for a lot of people. And it's normal for a lot of non-Black people that want to understand the culture of something else, how to figure it out. What they say, appropriation. I'm like, bruh, that's bound to happen. It's just with us, we don't have a governing mechanism of saying, nah, y'all can't do that. You know what I mean? Like, you don't see a bunch of us opening up Chinese restaurants. That don't happen. You might be thinking, why isn't a Black person really done that? I can guarantee you in a lot of places, when I say they come together, the calendar that you see in there, the menus you see in there, the pictures that's being created in there, all the supplies they get is all amongst themselves. Chinatown is literally bringing a truck down from New York, distributing that shit to all these different Chinese restaurants or wherever part, and it's distributed to everybody else. They're not necessarily going to Walmart to get forks and knives and plates. That's how it's been for a long time. So if you want to get that container that shows it's Chinese food, that gives people that synonymous, like, you see the little shape of the joint, it says thank you at the bottom. You know what I'm saying? If you want to show that, you want to put the menu and put, Pad Woon Sin on there and you spelling it right, you gotta know that you're probably going to be faced with opposition, because that already is a system that exists already with their culture. You get what I'm saying? Everyone else has, especially not us, but everyone else has a way of governing their community. This is what we do over here. This is how we operate. If you want to be a part of our family, it's not just being a part of our family, it's learning and respecting our culture. You got to dress up with the sari if you dating an Indian chick. You go to that family over there and they got a quinceañera and they doing whatever, because you trying to be down with the family, dating the husband or whatever. They telling you this is what the family dynamic is. Yeah, you, and we respect you. We love you. But when you come over here, this is how you eat steak over here. This is how we do this here.
Right.
And mind you, this is somebody across the street.
Feel
This
you.
ain't somebody we ain't going to their home country. They over here telling us this is how you operate when you trying to be a part of our shit. So
Nah,
when I look at that, I'm like, bro, we gotta change. We gotta look at what we doing and say, look, if you really want to get ahead and we want to create that footprint, we got to start analyzing how we are governing our groups, our community, our accountability, but foundationally, what is understood. You don't go, and we know this about negative aspects of our culture, but not the profound aspects.
well, let's get some more understanding real quick, right? Let's jump back in this book for a second.
Go ahead. I was waiting.
It is important to note that these observations on the differences in thinking between whites and blacks were all made before the appearance of literature concerning the cerebral hemispheres. I could have piled up enough evidence on the subject to fill this book, but the foregoing should prove the point. The consensus on the differences between these two modes of thinking is that they each represent, by and of themselves, legitimate approaches, schools of thought, to knowing. On one hand, this belief must be rejected on the ground that as the two are complementary to each other, they are incomplete by themselves. On the other hand, we will see, as history records, that the evils arising from the unbalanced expressions of the left hemisphere far exceed in destructiveness those of the right hemisphere. While the former is responsible primarily for man's inhumanity to man and all social disharmony, the latter is responsible for stagnation in physical technology. The greatest problems arises from the fact that the greatest validators of our actions, i.e., religion and science, which are intrinsic products of right-sided cultures, are now used by predominantly left-sided cultures in the characteristic fashion of the left hemisphere. Although the left side is totally incapable of truly religious and scientific thinking, the grafting of its processes onto these subjects has gone unnoticed due, on one hand, to ignorance, and on the other, to the military supremacy acquired by Europeans in the last 2,000 years. The results have been that scientific and religious validation has been given to false doctrines, practices, and institutions that now control the cultures of the nations dominating the world and set the culture trends for the others. It is important to see how this has come about.
Yo, we need. And what's dope about this, what's dope about what you just broke down in that book? It's like, this is why, in my opinion, a lot of glitching is taking place right now. Like when you look at the Matrix and you're getting instances of, like, I think I saw that before, deja vu, or just all different aspects of glitching. That person that they perceived a certain way by everybody, and all of a sudden this bombshell happens, and everybody's like, What the heck? What the?" Just all of it, all the glitching that's taking place in society, economic stuff, the prices of stuff going up, everything that's happening, bro. It makes sense when you break it down that way. Who is controlling the systems of all these things? It's not us. It's not people that look like you and me. So to think that we can control these things or make enough impact to where the state that we have in it can change. I'm not saying anybody is wrong if they feel like they can infiltrate and be a part of something and do something for the better, right? Or the betterment of us. I just got to be honest with the track record. A lot of people been stepping into spaces and being the first of this and the first of this and being in spaces to whatever, whatever. But it's not really translating to us really being efficiently and self-sufficient as a group, as a collective. So when I'm seeing that not taking place, then I look at it like, all right, not saying, yo, we just need to just jump over there and say dead everything, but we got to start looking at systems of how we operate, even sharing money, sharing information.
Well, before
How,
we get to that
yeah.
point, what we would need to identify is that we've been living in an individualistic culture, because what you're talking about right now is operating as collectivism, and
Mhm.
collectivism is the way. Make no mistake about it. Unity is the way, but a group of people would have to understand where they are to be able to progress forward into something better. But before we go too deep in the weeds, it's Two Brothers and an Idea. We got a new host. Nalen's in the building. It's episode 30. Melanated artist. We talking about him today. Listen, we about to go ahead and close it down, but I'm about to give my man Nalen a chance to go ahead and give his closing remarks.
Hey, I appreciate that, man. I really enjoyed the conversation. Just want to let y'all know as a public, this is a great intersectional point that you are looking at right now. Yes, the collectivism of ideas is what you're literally seeing happening. Um, I definitely am coming from a place of the diaspora and Black artistry and Black community, but it's time that the voices of myself and Black artists start really getting heard. So as you're tuning into this, collectivism progression taking place between myself and this good brother, you're gonna literally see more about myself. You're gonna see more of what I'm tapped into, but you're also gonna learn more about Ferd as well, man. He's going to be shedding a lot of light, but stay tuned, stay posted with everybody. It's all about positivity. Sometimes you have to just break things down to build it up properly. And I think you guys are witnessing in society right now that happening. A lot of things are starting to get broken down so we can properly build it back up with the proper structure. So stay tuned, man. We are building on this. Follow the the FHTI page, FHTII.com page, so you can stay tuned on everything. You get more information from me going forward, but stay posted. Keep going, man. We're gonna be live. We're gonna be definitely hearing more about art for myself, but it's time to just tap in. So as you guys are hearing everything, don't be afraid to reach out to the page. Let him know what your thoughts are. Let us know what you're feeling. You can reach us up directly. You can hit me up directly. You can hit good brother up directly as well. Again, FHTII.com is where you're going to see a lot of content, a lot of footage. Also, FHTII on Facebook. Please tune into that. Tune into F underscore H underscore T underscore II on Instagram as well. Much love, man. Appreciate the dialogue, and let's continue to build, brother. I really appreciate this, man.
My brother. This is a great conversation. And I was telling you before we started that this was going to stretch me because I don't really jump into art conversations as much. But this is an area of conversation that we all need to be touching, because many of our brothers and sisters are out here operating as artists. Some are operating as artists as a hobby. Some are paying their bills with it, right? And we got a lot of them that are doing one or the other in that space. I'm one of them. Nalen's another. Then we talked about some who have went to the top of the top, the Debbie Allens, the Alvin Ailey's of the world, and the Gordon Parks, and so many more, right? So let's give reverence to these artists. Let's put some respect on their name, right? And listen, thank y'all very much for tuning in to Two Brothers in an Idea, episode 30. We're talking about melanated artists. Listen. Expose your gift.